My relationship with Frida McFadden books is not healthy and I need to quit reading them, but I can't, it's like an addiction. You know the feeling where you're reading a book and you can tell that the author is trying to say something? This is very much feeling like a Taylor Jenkins Reid book. Today we are kicking off a new reading vlog and the theme for this vlog is reading new 2025 releases written by thriller authors who I've read from and enjoyed in the past, but have yet to give 5 stars. I'm going to quickly run through the 3 authors who I'm going to be reading from in this vlog and then we're going to get right into it. So first up we have Lane Fargo, the author of They Never Learn. Her newest release is called The Favourites. This is a revenge thriller that I read a few years ago and the main reason I can remember it not quite being a 5 stars is because I found it really predictable. I can remember thinking at the time that I would be open to reading more books by this author, and when I heard the synopsis of The Favourites and how it set in the world of figure skating, I was really intrigued. So that is the first book that you're going to see me read in this vlog. Next up we have Gillian McAllister's new release, which is called Famous Last Words. The other book that I've read from her is Wrong Place, Wrong Time, which had a sci-fi twist to it. Her books do tend to lean more towards crime mysteries rather than pure thrillers. However, I did enjoy Wrong Place, Wrong Time, and I can't at this moment remember why it wasn't quite 5 stars, but it'll be interesting to see whether I enjoy Famous Last Words more. Then the final book that I'm going to be reading is by Frida McFadden. Her latest release is called The Crash, and this is the riskiest choice because I have given Frida McFadden every rating between 1 star and 4 stars, except I can't remember if I've ever given any of her books a solid 4 stars or whether they're more like a 3.5. The books that I've enjoyed from her are the Housemaid series, Never Lie, and The Boyfriend, but I hated The Teacher with a passion. It was my worst book of last year, so we'll see how I get on with her new release. I think that's everything that I need to tell you in this intro, so I'm going to stop rambling and we are going to get into the vlog and see how I find these new 2025 releases. I have made a start on the first book that I'm reading for this vlog, which is The Favourites by Lane Fargo. I thought I would start with this one because I have a feeling this isn't going to be a thriller, and I'm 10% of the way through. So far, I think I was correct in that prediction. This is very much feeling like a Taylor Jenkins Reid book. We're following this main character, Kat, who in her timeline, so the way that the book is structured, there's this timeline following Kat, and you're seeing her as a teenager, how she has this ambition and this desire to become an Olympic figure skater. You see her relationship with her partner, Heath, and how they're childhood best friends who then become romantically involved, and they are both very much underdogs. Kat's parents passed away and she now lives with her brother who is an alcoholic, and then Heath grew up in foster care, so neither of them have much money, neither of them really have the means to become figure skaters other than this passion and this drive, and I think that is really coming across. You do know from the very first page and from the synopsis that they do end up making it to the Olympics. However, something happens. There is this scandal and we don't know what that is, but in the present day a documentary is being made about them, so you get clips from this documentary in the text, interviews with people who knew them and things like that, so it's hinting at something that we're clearly building up to, and my intrigue is very high. I really like the way that this has been set up so far. It does feel like a combination of Carrie Soto is back and Daisy Jones and the Six, but those were 2 books that I enjoyed. I liked Carrie Soto a little more than Daisy Jones, but I've heard that the audiobook for Daisy Jones is a lot better. I would be really curious actually about the audiobook for this. I'm reading it on my Kindle because I have an ARC through NetGalley, but I'm curious as to whether the audiobook is a full cast. But yeah, so far this is going well. I'm only 10% of the way through, so I don't have much else to say, but I thought I would let you know my initial thoughts and feelings before we get into the vlog. My hope is to try and get around halfway through this before I go away on Thursday, so I'm going to Spain this weekend for a long weekend, which I'm very much looking forward to. Just in the interest of full disclosure, I am working with Jet2 Holidays on this trip, so they got in touch with me a few months ago asking if I would like to write a blog post for them on my travel blog. So they provided the flights and hotel in exchange for a blog post. I'm not in any way obligated to talk about it on social media, but obviously because I'm vlogging, I thought I would just mention it in the interest of transparency. So yeah, very excited for this week, very very excited to get further into the favourites, and I will catch up with you probably once I'm about halfway through. Sorry, my throat just went really croaky then. I think the last time I checked in with you, I mentioned that I wanted to get halfway through the favourites before I go away, which is now tomorrow, by the way. So I am gonna have to read about 10% of this tonight in between packing, because yes, I still haven't packed yet and we leave tomorrow morning. I'm currently about 40% of the way through though, and I'm really liking this. It's not a thriller, I can tell you that confidently now. It's not a thriller, however, the description does describe it as a thrilling love story, and I think that is fairly accurate, so take from that what you will. The romance or the relationship between Kat and Heath is very much at the centre of the story. It's not strictly a romance because it's not following the structure of a romance novel, but their relationship is very much at the forefront of the story, and it's dramatic. It feels a bit toxic at times. These two characters have known each other since they were kids. You first meet them when they're 16 and they're already in a relationship, and they exist in this bubble where they very much rely on the other person, and it feels codependent and not healthy. There's a lot of drama, and it's not just about their relationship, it's about how their relationship impacts other people, how other people impact their relationship. It's about the friendships that they build with other people, as well as the rivalries that they have, and this desire to become the best. Kat is obsessed with figure skating and she really wants to win a gold medal at the Olympics, whereas Heath loves Kat. Did I call her Kathy? I keep calling her Kathy in my head, and I keep wanting to call him Heathcliff because this is very loosely inspired by Wuthering Heights, and it took me a while to realise that, but it actually says in the synopsis that Wuthering Heights was an inspiration. It feels like a solid 4 stars, however it could become a 5. It really depends on this second half, because at the moment I really like Kat. I think she is very headstrong and determined and unapologetic, and I want her to stay that way. I think it would be really easy for the author to make her a weaker character, and I'm really hoping that doesn't happen, because at the moment I feel like she hasn't done anything unforgivable. When I compare her to a character like Carrie Soto, a lot of people describe as unlikable. I don't feel like Kat is unlikable. I didn't even think that Carrie Soto was necessarily unlikable. I think that both of these characters are very unapologetic, and they're ambitious and they're driven. I like following a character like that. So yeah, I am hoping to get halfway through this tonight. I think the next time I'm going to check in with you though is once I've finished it, because I'm probably not going to update you this weekend while I'm away. I am going to take my camera with me, so I will hopefully get some nice B-roll, but the next time I speak to you will probably be with my final thoughts. Considering this isn't a thriller, I don't feel like I need to do another update before I get to the end, because this is a thriller reading vlog, or at least it's meant to be.
Moonlight peeks through the curtains. Another night, another fight. How do you feel? Are you hurt?
We've arrived in Spain and we have checked into our hotel room. Sam has just popped out to check out the pool on the top floor, and I thought I would give you a quick room tour. Please excuse my appearance. I probably look very, very tired. We have been awake since 3:30 this morning and it's now 3:30 in the afternoon. Yeah, let's have a look at this hotel room, because I think this is the nicest hotel room that I have ever stayed in. Okay, so this is the view when you first walk in. We have a little coffee station here. I think it's a coffee station. And then we have the bathroom here. And then this is the bedroom. Isn't it cute? I don't know whether it's actually cute or whether I'm just delirious because I have had 3 hours sleep in the past 24 hours. But yeah, I am very excited to sleep here for the next few hours before we go out for some dinner this evening.
Don't leave, no, please not now. If you need to breathe, we can figure this out. Don't pack the bags, don't leave the keys. Find your peace and clarity. Take a day, take a week. Baby, just stay with me.
Hi everyone, happy Tuesday. I am now back from Spain. As you can see, I got back on Sunday night. I have now finished The Favourites by Lane Fargo, and I kind of want to give this 5 stars. It's somewhere between a 4 and a 5. Something is holding me back from giving it that full 5 stars, but I really enjoyed this and I would strongly recommend this if you like anything by Taylor Jenkins Reid, but specifically Carrie Soto is back and Daisy Jones. There's a lot of drama and angst, and usually that's not my kind of thing. I've seen people already comparing this to Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings, which is a book that didn't work for me. However, I think the main issue that I had with that book is there's pretty much no plot. It's just about the relationship, and while The Favourites is also about this relationship, there's a plot alongside it, and I really liked being absorbed in the world of ice skating or figure skating, and it was just very compulsively readable. You can tell that Lane Fargo has written thrillers in the past, even though I wouldn't consider this a thriller. There are moments of tension. It was really compulsively readable. I didn't love the ending, I will say. I felt like in some ways it was too drawn out, but also it felt like it ended quite abruptly. However, throughout this book, there were moments that literally made me gasp. It spans quite a long period of time as well. I think it covers around a 10-year period, and I liked how the multimedia elements were used. So you have these interviews every so often with people who are being interviewed for a documentary about Cat and Heath, and I liked how that was used to almost fill in the gaps where there was like a little time jump. It felt like a really smooth journey. So yeah, 4 to 5 stars. I think I'm probably going to give it 5 stars on Goodreads, but I don't know whether anyone else feels this way, but because it's still January at the time that I'm filming this, I don't want to go ahead and say, yep, this book is going to be a favourite of the year, because I don't know how the rest of my reading year is going to go. I just don't want to commit to that right now. So yeah, let's call it a 4.5. And I am going to start my next book for this vlog today. It's currently the 28th of January and the new Freida McFadden book came out today. So I already have the audiobook downloaded, ready to go. I'm going to listen to the first 20 minutes or so on my lunch break. And then I think my next physical read is probably going to be the Gillian McAllister, but I will let you know more about that once I actually make a start on it. I have it on my Kindle because I have an ARC through NetGalley. So last night I made a start on Famous Last Words, and already I have been reminded why I like Gillian McAllister's writing, because I'm reading this so quickly. I'm already 30% of the way through, but it doesn't feel fast-paced in the same way that a popcorn thriller feels fast-paced. Usually with a popcorn thriller, the reason that I read them so quickly is because they feel very dramatic and over the top. However, Gillian McAllister, it feels, really takes her time to establish the characters and make you feel invested in the plot, and that is why you keep wanting to turn the page. In this book, we are following a main character called Cam, who is married with a 9-month-old daughter, and in the first chapter, she is getting her daughter ready for her first day at nursery. Cam is also about to go back to work after being on maternity leave, so it's a busy morning and she is feeling anxious, obviously, but also confused because her husband isn't there when she wakes up, and she thinks to herself maybe she's forgotten something. Maybe he had a work thing that morning that she's just forgotten with all of the chaos that's going on. She's tried texting him and calling him, but he's not answering, so she decides to just get on with the day and catch up with him later. However, later that morning she's at work when the police show up and tell her that her husband is involved in this hostage situation where he has taken 3 people hostage in this warehouse, and she is obviously confused. Her husband is someone who is usually very bright and happy and positive, and she doesn't understand why he would do something like this. But as she's thinking back on the past few months, she starts to question maybe she's missed something and maybe something has been going on with him that she wasn't aware of. Alongside Cam's perspective, we're also following the point of view of the hostage negotiator. I think his name might be Niall or something like that, but basically you have these 2 perspectives, and at the point that I'm at now, I feel like we're about to go off in a different direction that I wasn't expecting, and I really like that. I love it when a mystery does that and when it keeps me on my toes, and I feel like this book is going to do that plot-wise. When it comes to the characters, I don't know how I feel about Cam, because her initial reaction when she hears that her husband has taken these people hostage, she's in denial, which is understandable understandable, but then she starts to feel protective over her husband, and I don't know how that's going to be handled. I obviously have no idea what direction this book is going to go in, but yeah, it's exciting because I feel like we've had a really good beginning where I feel invested and I want to know how the events are going to play out. So I'm going to try and read more of this tonight. I'm hoping to get past the halfway point. It's reading quite quickly, but it also doesn't feel like it's over dramatic or too fast paced, and I like that. It's Friday evening and I thought I would check in with you before I head out this evening because I've made it to the halfway point in Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister, and I'm liking it so far. It's feeling like a solid 4 stars. I don't want to go too much into the plot other than what I've said already, because obviously this is quite a new release and I don't want to spoil anything. All you really need to know is that we're following this woman whose husband has taken a bunch of people hostage, and it's about how this impacts her. It's about her feelings towards her husband and how she's reflecting on their relationship. It's a lot more character driven than I usually prefer, and it's a lot more emotional than the thrillers that I tend to read. Definitely not a popcorn thriller. It's quite slow but also still compulsively readable. I am reading it quite quickly. I'm finding that I'm turning the page because I have no idea what direction this is going in, and that feels really exciting. As a mystery, I think it's been well crafted because there are parts where I can feel that the author is giving us a clue and I should be paying attention to stuff, and maybe stuff is going to become relevant. I mean, I don't know that for definite, that it might be that they're red herrings, but you know the feeling where you're reading a book and you can tell that the author is trying to say something. This is very much about the relationship between the main character and her husband, and yeah, even though it's not usually my kind of thing, I'm not usually the biggest fan of domestic stuff, I think it is very thought-provoking in the sense that it's placing you inside this main character's mind. I don't know whether I love the main character and I don't feel like I can directly relate to her, but I feel like I can empathise with her, which I feel is the purpose of the book. So yeah, this is going well so far. Like I might have said, it feels like a solid 4 stars, which I think is what I gave Wrong Place, Wrong Time. However, if this surprises me, then I feel like I might bump up my rating to 5 stars. I have like a broad theory as to what I think is going on, but I know that even if I'm right, there's got to be more to it than that, which yeah, feels quite exciting. I am just getting ready to film my January reading wrap up, but I thought I would check in with you first because I did end up finishing Famous Last Words yesterday, and I'm going to give this 4 stars. It's made me question my rating for Wrong Place, Wrong Time because I gave that a 4.5, but I rounded down on Goodreads, which makes me think at the time I probably assumed that it wasn't going to stick with me long term, and I feel a similar way about Famous Last Words. I think I did enjoy this a little bit more. I think the mystery was a lot cleverer and it took me by surprise, especially there were some twists that I didn't see come in. So yeah, I think if I were to look back on these 2 books together in say a year's time, I would probably rate Famous Last Words higher, but I still really enjoyed both, and so I would give them a similar rating. I would be really curious to read Just Another Missing Person, which was Gillian McAllister's release last year. I wonder whether that has a similar element that was in Wrong Place, Wrong Time and Famous Last Words. I don't mind reading this particular element. I know I'm sounding really vague, but I don't want to spoil anything. It's something that comes up sometimes in crime thrillers, and I don't mind reading it once from an author. However, if it's in every single book, then I find it a little bit tedious, and I don't find this particular element that satisfying. I'm not a big fan of love stories within thrillers, and I feel like this focused a lot on this love story, and I didn't feel that emotionally invested. I have also started The Crash by Frida McFadden. I've listened to the first 20% of the audiobook, and already this has given me the ick. So in this, we are following a main character called Tegan. She's in her early 20s and she is 8 months pregnant. There's a situation that's explained in the beginning as to how she became pregnant, which I don't think was handled in a very sensitive way, so didn't love that, and I am nervous that that's going to become more relevant as the book goes on. The setup for the plot is that the main character is driving to visit her brother when she gets caught in a snowstorm and she crashes her car. She thinks that she's going to be stuck there and that she's in a really dangerous situation, but someone happens to be passing and they rescue her, and she is nervous because she obviously isn't willing to just trust a stranger straight off the bat. However, this guy takes her to his house where his wife also lives with him, and she's a nurse, and so they say they're going to set her up and take care of her until the snow passes and they can take her to the nearest hospital. But it's a very remote location, so like as a concept it sounds really intriguing. Actually reminds me a little bit of Misery by Stephen King, which is one of my favourite Stephen King books. The one thing that has given me the ick though is the main character imagines her unborn child talking to her, and it's a voice in her head, and the way that the narrator is doing this child's voice, it's really creepy. Like, I don't want to hear a fetus say something like, "Be careful, mommy, I don't trust him." Like, it's not pleasant to listen to, and I don't want that to be a thing throughout the rest of the book. So again, we'll see how that goes, but as a concept, I'm intrigued. I am interested to see what direction this goes in, so I'm gonna listen to some more today. It's a beautiful sunny day outside, so I'm gonna go for a walk, I think, after I finished filming, and then hopefully I will catch up with you either later today or tomorrow once I'm a little further in. I had to pop into town earlier to go to a doctor's appointment, and I managed to read some more of The Crash by Frida McFadden, so I'm now about 60% of the way through. Okay, I'm finding this a little bit tedious because as the reader we have more information than what the main character does, and so it's really frustrating being in her mind because we know that she is wrong about certain things and it's just really boring. Like, the reason I read Frida McFadden books is because I want to be entertained. I don't like her writing. I listen to her books as audiobooks because I don't notice the writing as much, and I find that the simplistic, direct writing style works better as an audiobook. I'm just not having a good time with this one. I'm not really that entertained, and so far nothing has happened that has surprised me. So yeah, I'm a little disappointed. However, I'm hoping that in this final third we're going to get some more action. Maybe the pace is going to pick up. Not that it's been slow paced so far, it's just that because nothing is surprising me and it's not like dramatic and over the top, I don't know, it's just feeling a little bit boring in comparison to some of her other books. So yeah, I will check in with you once I finish this. Something else actually that I wanted to mention is when I get to the end of this reading vlog, I will mention the content warnings for this book because I don't feel like it's handling certain topics very well. I know that some people don't consider content warnings spoilers, however I feel like with thrillers people may not want to know content warnings beforehand, because if you're reading a thriller then you expect that it might have certain things. So yeah, I will check in with you once I finish this. I am cooking dinner tonight, so I might try and film that. We had a Gusto box arrive earlier, so I will insert some footage of me opening that because I did film it, and then yeah, hopefully we'll have a lovely fun cooking montage.
Gloves on, ready to take a swing. 12th round, hanging on by a string. Yeah, we ain't over till it's over, and if you're still in my corner, then I'll stay intact. Punch you still, I've had enough, bloody in my knuckles up.
It is almost time to wrap up this reading vlog because I have now finished The Crash by Frida McFadden, and I'm going to give this 2 stars. I don't know where to start with my thoughts on this. I completely understand that this is a popcorn thriller. It's not that deep, it's not meant to be taken super seriously. Something that I'm learning about myself as a thriller reader is that I don't tend to love popcorn thrillers anyway. Sometimes I'm in the mood for them and I want something where I can switch my brain off and just enjoy the ride. And usually, I say usually, I have enjoyed Freida McFadden books in the past and I found them really entertaining. However, I had similar issues to this that I had with The Teacher, in that I didn't like the way that it was handling certain topics. It's not that I can't handle reading these topics, it's that I don't want to read about them in a popcorn thriller where I'm reading these books for entertainment, and there's certain things that I just don't find entertaining. This was also really boring, and I don't understand how you can make this story boring, because from the setup, the synopsis sounded like it was going to be really tense and suspenseful, and it just wasn't, because you know as the reader more than what the main character knows, and so it was really boring and frustrating watching her make these mistakes, and it was just so irritating. There was one part actually that I did like, where it felt like the author was acknowledging the similarities to Misery by Stephen King. I did quite like that, because as I might have said, Misery is one of my favourite Stephen King books. I hated the ending. I did not like this ending at all, and it really bothered me, and I feel like that's all I can really say without going into spoilers. I'm not going to go into spoilers in this vlog. I am considering whether I should make like a spoiler review for this book, because I was going to make one for The Teacher when I read that last year and I didn't, and I've always regretted it because of how much I hated that book. This one's a 2 stars, not a 1 star, because it wasn't like as bad as The Teacher. There was just nothing about it that surprised me. Like, there were twists, but I feel like a lot of the twists were really obvious. I don't want to talk about this book anymore, so we're going to wrap up the reading vlog here and quickly recap the 3 books that I read for this vlog. So first up, I read The Favourites by Lane Fargo, which I am going to give 4 stars. I was debating whether to give it 5 stars. However, it feels more like a 4, and compared to They Never Learn, I did end up enjoying this one more, which is ironic considering it's not even a thriller. I then read Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister, which I gave 4 stars again, and this one I also think I enjoyed slightly more than Wrong Place, Wrong Time, but that could be recency bias. I've given them both the same rating, so yeah, they were pretty even. Then finally I read The Crash by Freida McFadden, which I'm giving 2 stars, and I shouldn't be surprised. I know, okay, I understand that my relationship with Freida McFadden books is not healthy and I need to quit reading them, but I can't, it's like an addiction. Will I pick up any more of her books? Probably, but I don't know if I'm going to rush to read them as soon as they're released. So yeah, thank you for watching this vlog if you have made it this far. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these new releases or if you've read any of these authors' backlist. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and click subscribe if you would like to see more videos from me, but otherwise I will see you next time. Bye!